So we're glad you guys are with us today. Glad you guys are, she always interrupts. We're so glad you guys are with us today, and glad you've joined us for our webinar about the Orphan Grain Train Christmas outreach, these Christmas boxes. We heard about this after we moved to Madison a couple of years ago and met the Asburys. And so I wanted to do a webinar on that. And so we're fortunate to have Kelly Asbury with us today, all the way from Norfolk, Nebraska, all of 15 minutes away from me, but half a country away from Jenna over in St. Louis. So, but this is something you guys can replicate anywhere. So I'm excited to have Kelly present for us today. Just a couple of housekeeping things. While we're on our webinar today, you can ask Kelly questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So just click on that and type your questions in for Kelly or any of us, and we'll do a little Q&A time at the end of our webinar. And there's also our chat feature, and the chat feature will allow you to interact as well. So with that, let's begin with a word of prayer. Gracious Lord, we give you thanks for the many and various ways you have called us to serve you and to serve those around us, sometimes near, sometimes very far away. We pray your blessing be upon us today as we gather for this webinar and Kelly's presentation, but most importantly, bless those efforts that she and her family and her church endeavor to do, as well as those who might pick up the mantle and follow along in likewise fashion. Be with us today, O Lord, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Kelly, take it away.
Okay. So, Orphan Grain Train is a volunteer network that shares things all over the world with people in need. So, we'll go back. They send humanitarian aid overseas to 69 countries. They have volunteers all over the United States with warehouses that pack different items from clothing to quilts to food, medical supplies, school supplies, and they send it all over the world to people in need. And they have 20 special projects that you can do for them. One of these projects is Christmas boxes. So about 3 or 4 years ago, Orphan Grain Train approached our summer VBS staff asking if we would use the Christmas box project as a VBS donation and then pack the boxes, because they were looking for someone to pack some extra boxes. And I was in charge of that. We packed 100 that first year through our VBS, and I loved it. It was great. It was a lot of fun. A couple summers later, I asked if we could do it again for them, and they said sure. And that summer, we packed around 100 again from VBS, and then we decided to keep going. And I put a bulletin announcement in our church and a few other churches, and then we had people donate to us. And that year, we packed almost 1,000 that first summer. Last summer, we again put an announcement, in this time in the Nebraska District newsletter and our local churches, and asked for donations, and we packed 1,300 last year. This year, we're in the middle of our project. We are starting to pack, and we're going to be over 1,800 this year. So why pack Christmas boxes? You should pack Christmas boxes because it's a tangible way to share God's love with people all over the world. Most of the kids who receive these boxes own nothing. They own the clothes on their back. They often have never seen the items in the box. We have a member of our church who's actually given the boxes out, and she said that the children didn't even know what crayons were. They tried tasting them to see if they could figure out what they were. So they have nothing, and oftentimes this is the only present they'll ever get. We give our kids presents all the time. This is the one they may get in their lifetime. So here are some pictures of people who got our boxes. This is a family in the Republic of Georgia, and they have 10 kids, and they received 6 of our boxes that we packed last summer. They received them close to Christmas time. And you can see the joy on their faces, and You can also tell that in the background, there's more pictures that we've seen. They really didn't have anything. We didn't see a single toy or book. They had a stove, a wood stove, but that was pretty much it, besides a little bit of furniture in their house. So they were so excited to receive these items. They also, I think, got some school kits from Orphan Grain Train. When you're packing boxes, you send 10 items in a box, and it's always the same 10 items. And these items include a t-shirt, a pair of underwear, socks, a toothbrush, a bowl, a coloring book, a 24-count box of crayons, a sheet of stickers, a stuffed animal, and a toy. All the boxes have 10 items, and those are the 10 items. There are several items in a box that have to be new. And these items include the, let's see, I'm having trouble getting to my next slide. Well, the new items include the 24 box of crayons, the toothbrush, which has to be packaged individually. All toothbrushes have to be in a single package. It can't have the like toothpaste. Here we go. Okay, these items have to be new. 1 pair of underwear, 1 pair of socks, 24-count box of crayons, an individually packaged toothbrush. It can't have toothpaste with it or floss or anything else. It just has to be in a package by itself. The coloring book needs to be new. 1 sheet of stickers and the ball. We can accept used balls. They have to be in very good condition. And a tennis ball is my favorite thing to send, but you can send a bouncy ball. If you send a bouncy ball, you need to make sure it's at least 1 inch in diameter and not send it to children under 6. So that's why a tennis ball works for everyone, but you can use others. Several of the items can be used. You can send a used t-shirt or stuffed animal. Most of my t-shirts that I get are used. We get them from Orphan Grain Train. I go over to the warehouse and they allow me to find t-shirts out of ones that are donated, as well as the stuffed animals. The picture here is of my 2 youngest girls giving some of their t-shirts that they grew out of for Christmas boxes. Also, the stuffed animals can be used, and our Orphan Grain Train allows us to take stuffed animals, but people also donate a lot of stuffed animals. They can range in size from a Beanie Baby, it's about the smallest that we'll use, up to a full-size teddy bear. It'll all depend on how big your toy is in the box. The toy is the best part of the box, and it needs to be an age-appropriate toy without batteries, because there's no way that they're going to be able to get new batteries. When you look at Orphan Grain Train's website for the description of a Christmas box, it does give you examples of toys, but you can use others. And that was a confusion to me when I first started packing. They give you some really good ideas. The baby doll is on there, or hair accessories for older girls. But you can use lots of different things. So some of our favorites are wooden blocks, Duplos, Legos, Barbies, puzzles. We set up kits that we call an art kit that might have some like beads and embroidery floss to make a necklace. Sometimes what you're giving them is a toy they can play with. A good toy is one that as they grow, they can still play with it in many different ways. Blocks are a good example of that, or a Barbie, if they're a girl, is a good example of that. Sometimes what we send is an experience. So making a necklace, our kids do that all the time, put pony beads on a piece of string and make a necklace. Or a puzzle. They might be able to do a puzzle for a while, but it's something they would never experience otherwise. Toys we can buy sometimes in a large quantity and break up. So that works especially well for blocks and Legos and Duplos. We'll buy a big set of Legos and break it down into about 100 a kid and put it in a Ziploc bag for them. Or wooden blocks. The boys that were in the picture before had some Duplos that we had put in a bag we had gotten tennis balls in. And we break it down into as many as will fit in the box. Usually that's about 30 for bigger blocks and 100 for Duplos, or sorry, for Legos. Most toys will work as long as they don't have a theme of war or violence and they're in good condition. So used toys work very well, and a lot of the toys we use are used. So if you want to do this project and set it up through your church, there are different stages you should go through when you're packing. First is to collect items and collect your supplies from Orphan Grain Train. I usually start in June, late June. I send bulletin announcements. I announce the project. This year, we not only announced it to our church, and we announced it to the Nebraska district. We also set up Christmas trees with little ornaments that people could take home and buy and bring back to encourage people to donate to our project. And we did that all throughout the city. We even had some in a few other cities that are closer, or I had somebody who was willing to set up the tree and collect items for me. Your bulletin announcements should include a little bit about your project, what you're doing, or what is Orphan Grain Train, what is a Christmas box, and then give very specific things that you want. So I usually only tell people tennis balls. I will order bouncy balls, but I tell people I want tennis balls, or I would like Barbies, or I would like Duplos, very specific items. This year I even was very specific in I would like boys underwear size 6 or something like that, just to make it easier for them. I like to collect in July because we pack in August so that we can get our finished boxes to Orphan Grain Train by September 1st is when they would like to have your finished boxes. And that gives me a whole month to pack and a month for collection. These are the things that you get from Orphan Grain Train when you're going to pack. You need boxes, and my picture is of my friend Savannah, and she came to help us pack last year, and she's got her boxes all built. Those come from Orphan Grain Train. They also will give you labels. Pastor Corretto is holding a label, and the labels are what you put on the outside of the box to say what age and gender the box you packed is for. And the third picture is of the story. Each box includes the Christmas story and tells a little bit about Jesus, who he is, and why we are sending Christmas boxes. So as your items come in, you need to keep track of them. And we divide them into 8 age categories. The reason I divide them into these is because clothing is usually divided into approximately these ages and genders. So I also divide my toys up into these ages and genders. And last year we did it in these rows where each row had a different age, gender. And then I had signs that labeled what each category was on my floor. This year I have them on tables, but it's the same kind of idea. I organize. And then to keep track of everything, I create a spreadsheet. And my spreadsheet tells me exactly how much I have of everything that I need. I enter it as it comes in, and I have a few different categories. I have girl, boy, size. I have either, because sometimes shirts will go either way, especially if they're like a VBS shirt or something, it could go either way. So I have that category. The balls through the stuffed animal there, I don't count age or gender. I just count numbers. And then the toys, I write specific toys on my spreadsheet because I like to know what I have. And then if I need to move toys, sometimes a baby doll, you could give it to a 2-year-old girl, but you could also give it to a 4-year-old girl. And if I know exactly how many I have in which category, I can, when I get to the end and I'm packing, I can shift stuff around easily. Another feature that I have on my spreadsheet is it keeps track for me of how many of everything I have. But also if I have a goal, like my goal this year is 1,500 boxes. So this is my spreadsheet from early July. How many more of each item I'm going to need to be able to reach that goal. And then if I were to purchase them individually, I have a price breakdown of how much the average best price is to buy each item. And that calculates how much money I would need if I were just going to go out and purchase that many. This spreadsheet changes all the time. As I get things coming in, I put them in. Now, as we're packing, things come out of the spreadsheet. The packed number goes up and then it recalculates for me. This also lets me know if I have a certain amount of money, how I should spend it. And that's how I figure out all of my numbers. It costs around $7 to build a box if I use only $3 for a toy, which you can do a lot with $3. It doesn't sound like much, but you can buy a big box of blocks and break it up. Especially if you find things on clearance, you can get them within that $3 range. There are some things that are always too expensive to buy. This year we collected baseball gloves, which is a great toy for like an 8-year-old boy, but baseball gloves are never $3. So those were specific things I asked people to buy for me and donate. Barbies are also that way. Barbies can definitely be used, but if you get a new Barbie, it's never $3. So some things are better donated. I created this size chart to help you determine where to categorize items as they come in. The hardest part for people, especially if they're older and don't have kids, is if I have an extra small pair of socks, what do I do with it? Well, I guess the socks don't come in extra small, they come in smalls. And if you had a small set of socks, you would probably want to put them in your 4- and 5-year-olds. And so this chart helps my volunteers, if they're sorting with me, know where to place items. The only thing that tends to vary is the t-shirt size. If I get used t-shirts, sometimes I will move them down a size because they shrink and they are a little bit smaller. I'd always rather give kids an item that's too large than too small because I figure they're going to grow. This is the guidelines I use for toys. So some toys can go for multiple ages, like wooden blocks are good for anywhere from 2 to 5-year-olds. And this, again, gives you an idea of where you might place an item in a box. If you were to get a 48-piece puzzle, which age kid would you put that with? This is based on my experience with my kids. They could be rearranged based on what the item is. Or like I said, baby dolls, I tend to give them to really little kids, but I'll also give them to 4- and 5-year-olds if I have extra baby dolls. So the next step, after you collect all of your items and you know how many of everything and you know how many boxes you're going to pack, is to set packing days and invite people to come and help you pack. My project got really large really fast and I needed help. And so what I did was I announced which days we were going to pack. This year, I've announced it to all of our circuit churches. We also reached out to another church in our area, First Christian, and asked them for help. And they set up a Christmas tree for us. They also announced our packing days, or by word of mouth. If I have anybody who they ask what I've been doing and I tell them that I am packing Christmas boxes and they say, oh, can we help? I'll send them our packing days. And we also have groups that come and pack. I had a ladies' aid group come from Christ Lutheran as their August meeting. So they've come 2 years in a row and packed for me. I've packed boxes with my youth group. I've packed boxes with Sunday school. This picture is just from one of the days that was open to anybody who was available to pack. And this nice group of people came to help me. Before you have to pack, if you're in charge, you need to select what age you're going to pack for and gender. It's easiest to pack a larger quantity of one age and gender at a time. So that might be 25 to 50. If you get a little bit above 50, your counting can get off. So 50 is about the number that I like to pull out of my inventory. And looking at my spreadsheet, I'll decide which age and gender I'm going to pull. And then I go and pull 50, say, size 4 shirts that are girls. I like to find 50 size 4 underwear that are girls and socks and so on. And I pull them all out. I'll do that ahead of time. The day of packing, I will have people help me take all those socks apart. So the ladies in the picture there are cutting socks apart this last year. we don't take them out of their package until right before, because A, it keeps them together, but B, it also tells you what size they are in case they get mislabeled or put in a wrong category. I do the same with underwear. And then I also have my volunteers the day of select of the other 10 items, say 50 of them. So I have Maggie and Joe are picking out stuffed animals. They're getting 50 stuffed animals. We also set them along 3 tables all put together in groups. And that's how we organize ourselves when we're packing. So another way to help your packing day go smoother is to build your boxes ahead of time. Last year, we knew we had 1,500 boxes. And so my friend Jerry there came and built us a lot at one time. And my kids helped him, and they had fun building this big box castle. But having a stack on hand will make your packing go smoother if you have those items or that part of your packing already done. Then once you have all your items out in a row, you're ready to pack. And these are some pictures of different groups packing. I usually pack during August. I get all of my items together in July, and then at the beginning of August. If I have to order something, I'll order large quantities, especially coloring books. I always have to order balls. I usually have to order toothbrushes. I'll order all those. So the first couple weeks of August here, I've been waiting for all of my items to come in that I ordered, and my packing dates mostly are the last 2 weeks of August. As I get ready to pack and I set up these days, I make sure I have all the items on hand before I set a day. These are some of my kids packing. They were packing in Sunday school. There's a ladies' aid group that packed. This is a line of boxes. You can see that we did pack. There are some baby dolls in there. They're probably younger girl boxes. And as you pack, they just go down the row and they take one from each pile and put it in their box. They take one shirt, one pair of underwear, one sock, set of socks, and go all the way down, taking one from each pile. Then at the end, we count every box. This is the most important step because you think you've done everything perfectly only to find out you have one extra toothbrush or you're missing a pair of socks. And even after you've counted and you think you've done it all correctly, it's very easy to miss an item. So having 50 of every item on the table at the beginning helps you because when you get to the end, your table should be empty. That's helpful. But also it'll allow you to know what you're short on. At the end, we have 2 people sitting, and you can see they have some labels. They are putting labels on the boxes, and they're also adding the Christmas story at the end there. Then as my packers come down and they put the boxes down and they get their sticker and they get their story, then they get set to the side. So we have some boxes that have been packed but not counted. And then off to the left, there's a person, and I usually have a couple people do this. If you're packing with children, I always make sure the adults are the ones that are counting the boxes. They need to go through and make sure they do have, in fact, 10 items in each box. And then once they're counted, we don't even seal them until every box has gone down the line, been stickered, had the story, and been counted. That way, if for some reason we even missed something in counting, we have the opportunity to go back and fix it at that point. Inevitably, you're going to have something happen. You counted 50 socks and you still are short a pair of socks, and that's okay. As long as you are certain that you've counted every box, then we just go find another pair of socks, put it in, and close them up. Once we're happy with how everything turned out, then we have people seal our boxes. The labels that you put on at some point, either when you're going down the row or when you're counting, you put on the labels, have a box for a boy or a girl that you mark, the gender, and then we write the age in the boxes. When they initially made these, they wanted you just to check if it was a box for a 2 to 7-year-old or if it was for an 8 to 12. And I felt like that if a 7-year-old got a box intended for a 2-year-old, that the clothes wouldn't fit, the toy might not really be something they would be interested in. So we always actually write the age on the box. So you can tell from the outside who the box should go to when they're handing them out. It should go to approximately a 2-year-old girl, and then they have an idea of what's in the box. Then we seal. The very last step is we seal. This is my friend Joe. He has a tape gun, and they are sealing the boxes. You fold them down and you seal. When we seal the boxes, we get clear tape and borrow the tape guns from our local Orphan Grain Train. I think you could use any clear tape to seal the boxes. It doesn't really matter. As we seal the boxes, then we make big piles of each age and gender. I learned years ago that Orphan Grain Train, when they get the Christmas boxes, they put them 4 to a brown box. And if you were to give them 50 of one size and gender at a time, then they're going to pack those into brown boxes, and the brown boxes will only contain one size and gender. And if they're going to an orphanage, say, they're not going to have 50 4-year-old girls. They're going to have kids of all ages and all genders. And so we mix up our boxes before we ever give them to Orphan Grain Train. And the way I do it is I make piles of each age and gender. And then we go around and collect. So my little kids there in the upper picture, Ashley, Maggie, and Malachi, are collecting different boxes from all different kinds of piles, and they run around the room and they collect them, and then they put them into the brown boxes that Orphan Grain Train also gives us. You don't have to do this step. We just, with our large quantity, found it's much easier for Orphan Grain Train if we go ahead and put them into brown boxes for them. So we put, each one has 4, we mix up the ages and gender, and then we seal those. And there is an extra sticker that goes on the outside that says it's a Christmas box. It's a box of Christmas boxes. And we put them on a truck and we take them over to Orphan Grain Train. You can contact your warehouse to see what's best for them, if they'd rather you just drop off the completed boxes or if they want you to put it into the brown boxes. So that is the process that we go through. It does take, for me, I start in June and we finish by September 1st. So it's several months. With as large as our project has gotten, August is extremely busy. It takes me a lot of time. I have to find all of the shirts and stuffed animals from Orphan Grain Train, because we usually, that's one of our donations that we don't get as many of, but Orphan Grain Train allows me to go in and pull shirts and stuffed animals from their warehouse to add to the boxes. Also, I have to order items, and so, or go buy items from Walmart and Target, and I spend a lot of time doing that. Do you have any questions, or what else would you like to know?
Oh, Todd, you're muted. Todd, you're muted.
No, I'm not. Thank you. I think I clicked near the mute button, but I didn't click on it apparently. So anyway, no questions yet. So folks, you got your opportunity to ask Kelly some questions. I've got several that I'm going to throw out there. Just things that I was thinking about as we were going through, but down at the bottom, you get that toolbar to pop up. If you put your cursor, there we go. Now we got, and this is actually a question I was going to ask. We are a tiny congregation. Could we collect items and give them to a church that is packing boxes? And then maybe a follow-up to that question, how maybe could we connect with a church that is packing boxes? Does Orphan Grain Train have a contact list maybe?
Okay, so one of the things that my doing this project has allowed is for smaller churches like that to join in on our project. I had a little tiny church way out in western Nebraska that collected items. And I had a very enthusiastic lady last summer who made me a whole bunch of baby doll blankets that we wrapped around our dolls. And she applied for a Thrivent card and all kinds of stuff. But she was not able to pack boxes at her church. They live in a small town. And so she just sent the items to me. I have people from all over the country. Orphan Grain Train, the last 2 years, has posted what I'm doing on their website. And I've gotten donations from people all over the country. So I have a lady in California, the last 2 years has ordered items for me and shipped them through Amazon. and they show up here and then they go in the boxes. I have people that just donate money, or I've had people ship me boxes of used items. Like one lady sent me a whole collection of hair bows, brushes, combs, all kinds of stuff that she found somewhere and mailed them to me. So one way for a tiny congregation that doesn't feel like they could complete a project on their own would be to, send your items to somebody else like me. I don't know of other churches that have done such a large project like mine. I know that when I've talked to like my family in Colorado, they said, oh yeah, we've done that with our church. We've packed boxes. So I know other churches out there sometimes do it as maybe a an outreach, but I don't know if there's another one that has done it on such a large scale as what we have done. You can just pack 5 boxes. You could go buy 1 package of underwear and socks and, come up with 5 toys. If you were going to do that, it definitely would be easier to pack 1 gender and 1 size, because you could buy a package of 5, 5 boys size 2 underwear and then buy the socks to match and so on and so forth. And then you just take them to Orphan Grain Train, and they, along with everything else that comes into their warehouse, would collect them until they got enough to put in the brown boxes.
Great. Carmen has a follow-up question. We're too late to do this for 2021. Can we send items to you early for next year?
Yes. So one of the things that has happened over the years is I have so much enjoyed doing this that it's kind of become a year-round thing. I have my own storage closet now at church for items that I collect during the year. This year, I actually received so much monetary donations. I don't know that I'm going to be able to spend them all and find enough shirts and stuffed animals to go with them. And the idea I have is to save a little bit. And when Christmas time comes around and all those great toy specials come around, to then use the money to buy toys that will end up in next year's boxes. Last year, our Sunday school packed boxes, but didn't do it until Christmas or fall and Christmas time. So those boxes I counted in my numbers for this year. So yes, I do take them all the time. I have people who, now that I've done it, come up to me at church and say, we have these outgrown t-shirts. Do you want them? And yes, I take them, and I have a closet I just keep stuff in.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. So to get boxes, if somebody wants to do something like this on their scale, Lois asked, how do they get the boxes, and then how can they get the boxes to Orphan Grain Train? I'm going to let you touch on that first and see where we go here, because I know there's Orphan Grain Train depots all over the place, but
yes. So I get them from our local warehouse, which we live in Norfolk, which is the headquarters of Orphan Grain Train globally. So I have the advantage of having the main office here. And the main office for us has the stickers and the stories. The boxes are over in the warehouse, and the tape comes from the warehouse. But my guess is every warehouse has the capability of having the boxes and the stickers and stories, because my family in Colorado who have done it obviously got that from their local Orphan Grain Train warehouse. I think it's something they keep on hand in the warehouse.
They come in like flats and put together.
I was just pulling up their website so I can see where the branch locations are. But yeah, you can just Google Orphan Grain Train, and there's a map right there all over the place. So several in Nebraska, but they're all over the place. There's many more in the central corridor, but there's East Coast and West Coast too. So
yes, there are some all over. Texas has several. There's all over the country has them.
Yeah. And that's where the regional locations, the branch locations are. There's also oftentimes depots in the little town I grew up in Iowa, had a little depot. So it was a drop off. We lived in Concordia, Missouri. There was a depot there where you just drop it off, and then they haul stuff themselves to a warehouse. So you might ask around and see if there's a depot close to you that maybe you could coordinate that with as well. So
yeah, the people who drop off the items could bring you back Christmas boxes. I would think that would probably be something they might be able to do.
Yeah, and Orphan Grain Train is so easy to work with that they're always trying. They want to help you be helpful. So
yes,
but you are uniquely Yeah, uniquely seated right next to the main warehouse. Plus, you have a good working relationship with the pastor there at Grace, so that helps too.
Yes.
So at least
Yes.
I assume you have a good working relationship with him.
Yes.
She's married to him, so.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? You can pop them up here. I just had maybe something that kind of goes along with that. Is there a number of boxes that would be too small? Or are they willing to just do a few boxes and a congregation be able to do that, or do they want to keep it in a certain level?
Standard size box and how big they are.
So the boxes themselves end up four Christmas boxes to one of the brown box. If you've ever been to Orphan Grain Train, they have a set standard shipping box that everything gets shipped in so that their containers are as full as possible.
Okay.
And the Christmas boxes that fit in there are about, I think, 14 inches long. They're about 6 inches wide and 9 inches high. And that fits 4 to their brown shipping box. And they've told me what they tend to do is in September, when they get all the Christmas boxes, then they load them on the ends of shipments that are already going places as like a space filler, because they know they're going to get there around Christmas. That's why they want them September 1st. So they use them as a filler. Now, we had some boxes, the ones that my Sunday school kids packed last Christmas. I had about 140, and they said, do you happen to have 140 you could have ready early? They told me that in July, and I said, yes. I had kids pack them at Christmas. They took those, we turned those in like August 1st because they were going to the Bread of Life orphanage in Russia, or around Russia, that they knew they wanted to send some there, and they had a shipment going early. But they will put them on any shipment to any place in the world that will allow it to come in. Sometimes different countries have different rules, and so it'll depend on the country, but anywhere that would allow them to come in at this time of year, they're going to put them on. Now, the warehouse itself, I've gone over there before, and they say, not since they know I do this project, they'll say, somebody dropped these Christmas boxes off but didn't finish them. And they give them to me because they know that I have stuff to finish them, or I'll put them in with my project. So there are others who do them. And usually when that happens, it's not very many. It's like 4 or 5, 2 even. So they are ready for that kind of thing. They'll just hold them until they get more, and then they will pack them into the brown boxes. And even if they stuck one on there, like the family that got them in the Republic of Georgia, they got 6. They had 10 kids, and they got 6 of our boxes. So obviously that was a 1.5 brown boxes worth. So every little thing still makes a difference. It's one kid that's getting it. And when you pack a box, one of the things I try to remind my volunteers is that's all going to one little kid. There's one kid on the end that's going to open it up, and it's all for them. So, I've had my little girls, they'll find a Minnie Mouse shirt, and then they'll go searching to find Minnie Mouse underwear. And then if there's a coloring book or a stuffed animal, they'll put it together because they realize it's all going to one child. The one box goes to one child somewhere. And it may be a family, like the one family that got the 6. And of course, they'll probably share. But it could be an orphanage, or the picture on the very front slide was probably a school, I would guess. One year I saw pictures of a Valentine's party that they had at a school, and they gave everybody a Christmas box at the party.
Awesome. Do all the boxes go out of country?
I believe so, yes. I don't think they send Christmas boxes within the United States.
Okay. And another question, does COVID interfere with children being able to receive them?
I don't think so. Orphan Grain Train has still been shipping, and they haven't said anything different to me. Like, they know I'm going to pack 1,800, probably a little more than 1,800, and they haven't said that's going to be a problem. So
awesome.
I don't think that'll make a difference.
Well, I have one more question. I don't see any more up here, but I have one more. Would you be willing to share your spreadsheet with somebody?
Oh, the way I set it up?
Yeah.
Yes, you would have to know how I did. Like, it automatically calculates for me when I enter something in. It adds things up, and then it subtracts and multiplies, does it all for me. I don't know.
I was thinking if someone wanted to do a larger project and wasn't particularly Excel oriented, they might be able to.
Yeah, that spreadsheet's very handy because
yeah.
I can see exactly how many things I need. The one thing on there you have to realize is the cost column. Those are what I can get the best prices for. So the coloring book is not $1. The cheapest you can buy in Norfolk is $1 Dollar Tree. But if I get coloring books, I order them from Dollar Days because I can get them for 80 cents a coloring book.
Oh, nice.
And then some things I average. So like the underwear cost is an average between girls and boys because girls' underwear is far cheaper than boys. Boys will be like $1.50 a pair. Girls will be 75 cents. So that
not as hard on underwear, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just you learn things like that. And so the spreadsheet is an average cost, but again, if you were buying everything locally, those prices might be different. And tennis balls are more expensive than bouncy balls, but you have to order 500 bouncy balls to get the price I get. So.
Awesome. Well, no other questions. It's a fantastic information, Kelly. What a blessing that is. What a great outreach to so many kids, and the fact that they get the Christmas story with it is so, just that would be worth the effort, but then all the other gifts that go along with it. What a blessing. And so I thank you for all your work with that. I know what an undertaking. That's all I kept thinking as you were showing the pictures and talking.
It's a big job. I have a lot of people. I think last year I had about 50 to 75 volunteers. I have a core group that really helps me. The Mansfields, they build all my boxes. They also come and help me pull things ahead of time. It's definitely helpful to have people help you. The ladies at my Orphan Grain Train warehouse this year have saved shirts for me or stuffed animals, which is nice. Or if you get to know your Orphan Grain Train warehouse people, they will, if they get something in that looks like you might be able to use it, like toys, because they don't really do toys, but occasionally people will donate them. They send me stuff my way. One year
Nice.
They got a whole bunch of wrapped Christmas presents. Somebody misunderstood the Christmas box project and bought toys and wrapped them. So I took them home and my kids had Christmas in July and unwrapped them all. It was great fun. And then we used them in Christmas boxes. They became the toys in the Christmas box.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
somebody was all the trouble of wrapping them though. That's
I know. Somebody did a really nice job, but they couldn't. They don't send anything wrapped. They also try not to put things that have price tags on them so it can't be resold. So you have to take all your price tags off. It's fine to open stuff except the toothbrush.
Right.
To open up the packaging of the toys and things, which helps getting it in the box. I've had like an American Girl doll go in if you fold her in half. Somebody donated one of those, so I stuffed her in. Yeah, we've packed
literally.
a lot of different things. You can make it work if you're creative.
Awesome. Well, no other questions. Thank you, Kelly, for your time and for doing this project and for sharing that with all of us today. I know, it looks we popped up another question here. Thanks so much. Very informative. I'm excited to try this through our Acts of Love ministry. That's awesome. Great. Good for you, Karma. I'm glad to hear that. What a great endeavor. Just a quick announcement here, a couple of webinars coming up. We have Ministry After the Pandemic, Making Disciples for Life. Reverend Dr. Steve Shave, the director of LCMS Urban and Inner City Mission and Church Planning, will be doing that on September 9th. And one I'm excited to hear about too is David Harp's Music Conservatory. This is a new recognized service organization. So Pastor Nathan Sherrill, who's the executive director of David's Harp, will be sharing that with us as well. One more, so that's going on October 7th. If you have the recording for this webinar will be made available on our website. So take advantage of that. And Lois, I know Lois and Kevin Conger well. Hopefully down the road, Kevin, hopefully down the road. We'd love to have another RSTM conference, but right now we're focusing on those Making Disciples for Life conferences. So down the road, perhaps. So again, God's blessings to all. If you want to get in contact with Kelly, don't hesitate. You can contact our office. We'll put you in touch with Kelly, or she's at Grace Lutheran Church in Norfolk, Nebraska, or just go direct to Orphan Grain Train and get that information from them. So again, thank you, Kelly. God's blessings to you all.
Thank you.